Good evening, everybody. I'm Jan Adams, President and CEO of GMA Solutions and President and CEO of Ideal Electrical Supply Corporation. Today, we gather in celebration of not only a remarkable milestone, the 12th anniversary of the founding of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund, but also the 72nd birthday of a visionary leader and fierce advocate, Thelma D. Jones. Thelma's unwavering commitment to raising awareness and supporting those affected by breast cancer has transformed countless lives. Through her courage, compassion, and relentless pursuit of change, Thelma has built a legacy that extends far beyond the boundaries of this organization. Her work empowers women, families, and communities, ensuring that no one walks this journey alone. For 12 years, the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund has been a pillar of hope, providing critical education, resources, and emotional support to so many in need. The spirit of resilience and care that Thelma embodies continues to inspire us all. As we celebrate her 72nd year of life, may we also celebrate the indomitable spirit with which she has faced her challenges and turned them into opportunities to uplift others. Thank you, Thelma, for your tireless work, for being a voice for the voiceless, and for your enduring dedication to a cause that affects so many. Your light shines bright, and today we honor you. Happy birthday, and here's to many more years of hope, progress, and triumph. Thank you.
I'm pleased to make another introduction. I am pleased to introduce Dr. Vanessa B. Shepard, a leading public health and cancer disparities figure. As the founding interim dean of the School of Public Health at Virginia Commonwealth University, Dr. Shepard has been pivotal in advancing health equity and community engagement. Her extensive experience includes serving as the chair of the Department of Health Behavior and Policy and as Associate Vice President for Population and Public Health Strategic Initiatives at VCU. Dr. Shepard's dedication to addressing health disparities has earned her recognition, including the American Cancer Society's 2022 Researcher of the Year Award for her innovative work in underserved communities. Her research focuses on the social, cultural, and environmental factors contributing to health inequities, making her an essential voice in public health discussions. Under her leadership, the School of Population Health is committed to preparing future professionals to drive positive change in their communities. In 2005 and again in 2020, Dr. Shepard led the study titled Sisters Informing Sisters, SIS, the first peer-led decision support intervention for Black African-American women diagnosed with breast cancer. This study aimed to improve patients' communication with providers and treatment decision outcomes. The Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund, TDJ-BCF, supported the recruitment efforts for both the SIS study and the Women's Treatment Experiences Study, WTES, which aimed to examine psychosocial, healthcare, and biological factors that predict adjuvant endocrine therapy adherence in Black breast cancer survivors. This evening, Dr. Shepard will speak on resilience and informed, a public health approach to breast cancer awareness. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Vanessa Shepard, Interim Founding Dean at VCU, as she shares her insights on building a healthier future for all.
Thank you so much for that introduction and for the invitation to be here. I just want to do a sound check. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so happy anniversary and happy birthday, Miss Thelma. I'm excited to be here, and we'll just share a little about the new role that I have at VCU. I'll also start by saying that women are quite amazing, and specifically women of color and Black women. Amazing in the sense that they're strong and resilient and are caregivers, are educators. It's also important, though, to remember that women need support too. And women need someone, and Black women in particular, to say, we're here to help you. And the information piece is very important. We often talk again about being the strong Black woman, being resilient, but the word also tells us that people perish for a lack of knowledge. Okay, let me go to the next slide. There we go. So I care about all cancers, and particularly those that we know are screenable. But in particular, I care about breast cancer. So we can all sit and think about what does breast cancer advocacy mean to us? What's our motivation? We've already heard that people have had personal experiences with it. I care because I've been a caregiver, I've been a patient, a researcher, a health educator, interventionist. I consider myself a survivor, a scientist, but importantly, a soldier. What we know is that too many women are dying from breast cancer. These are bar charts, but the bar charts represent people. And we know that many women will be impacted by breast cancer in their lifetime. Specifically, when we think about disparities, the numbers are alarming. That African American women are 40% more likely to die than their white counterparts. And this is really despite similar rates of diagnosis. Black women faces higher mortality. The reasons are complex. Some things relate to access to care, delayed diagnosis, aggressive cancer types, treatment, participation in trials, but we also know that social drivers of health are important. The flip side is that African American women do survive from breast cancer. That's why we're here today. Some opportunities that we have to really think about optimizing care. If you look at a cancer care continuum of what happens from those opportunities that we have around primary prevention, risk reduction, and just looking at sort of these types of care, this cancer care continuum. But many of the boxes, it doesn't occur within the healthcare system. It actually occurs within the community. We think about lifestyle, these opportunities that we have to reduce our risk, knowing our family history, knowing our personal history, knowing our body, making sure that we are participating in early detection. But across this continuum, the data show and tell us that Black women have disparities in comparison to their European counterparts. And some of the research that I focus in has really tended to focus either on two ends of this continuum around risk reduction. And that's when, women can reduce their risk of breast cancer, lifestyle behaviors, risk reduction if you are at increased risk for hereditary breast or ovarian cancer. But most of the research is focused after diagnosis, those things that happen afterwards, well into survivorship. And I believe that we can change this paradigm. We've seen some things that work, and connecting with the community is important. So we think about public health. I've had leadership roles at the Cancer Center, still work with the Cancer Center, but now I see this opportunity to think about our moving beyond the healthcare system and partnering even more with our local health districts, with community-based groups. So for prevention, that's a key for public health, and health promotion. The CDC, back in the 90s, created a pivotal program, the Breast and Cervical Cancer Early Detection Program, and in the DC area, Project WISH. And what that program did was it focused on health education about cancer, cervical breast and cervical cancer, getting women to screening, and then eventually navigation for women that may not have the financial means for care. Along with that, we're moving from focus on the individual, but thinking about the individual and her family, and understanding the hereditary component, but also understanding the lifestyle component and the power of the woman in providing the food for the family and really helping to set the tone for healthy lifestyles. And then lastly, around public health, we're focusing on the social drivers of health. We heard about some of the programs in terms of making sure that patients have food. I remember some years ago talking to an oncologist about social isolation and sharing some data, and was told that that doesn't work, that doesn't relate to outcomes. But now we know that it does relate to outcomes. So we have a brand new school at VCU, our School of Public Health. Our vision is health, well-being, longevity, and equity for all. Probably sounds like a model, but it is, because we think that everyone has the right to live a long life, and working with communities to support that. And we're committed to this for all populations, and our focus from the research end, but also co-learning with the communities. And really that's why I'm here tonight, to underscore the importance of this organization in helping to shape our research studies, but also thinking about opportunities for training. And specifically, cancer is a major public health problem. So if we think about the risk factors for cancer, we now know that when we think about obesity, we think about insulin resistance, things are particularly important in terms of the risk reduction, but also life after a diagnosis. And so believing that it's really the collective responsibility of all of us to make sure that people are aware in our communities about the risks of cancer, talking to our family members, that people are informed and also willing to act. And so we think about those opportunities for action. We think about how we may focus on training. I'm not going to go through this here because I'm cognizant of time, but these are our 4 founding departments. And one of the aspects that we've created is a cancer health equity concentration in our MPH program. It was the first actually in the country to bring that in along, not just with epidemiology, but focusing on health equity. We're working in partnership to think about what other kinds of offerings can we have for our community members that may not want a 4-year degree or a 2-year degree. What can we do in terms of the community needs? And so we really want to hear some suggestions about how can we partner, have educational programs and workshops that can help organizations such as Ms. Thelma's continue with their work. So the power of community, my Sisters and Women Sisters study was mentioned. This peer support is important. We're starting to also look at how it impacts that treatment experience and focus on treatment adherence, but also on life experiences. And so I would encourage you in your support group and sharing, sort of documenting some of the changes that you see, because we co-developed that intervention by listening to survivors who told us what they thought would work. And this collective strength as we address things together. And so this is a quote from one of the participants in one of our studies saying, you go in informed, you come out more informed. And this was talking about the treatment consultation. And so we've created some booklets and templates to what we call talk back, to help patients to be able to tell their stories to their provider, to ask questions, listen actively, and to go through a process of knowing their treatment options. When patients participate in care, ask questions, their outcomes are better. And by outcomes, I mean adherence is better. We see a lower risk of recurrence. We know it's not the words that makes the difference, but really participating in care is a way to get better care. And so really ending with a call to action for all of us here as we think about public health. I hope for more partnerships around cancer, thinking about the contextual things that impact the cancer, where people live, the food that they have access to. So encourage all of us to get informed. So if you've had a diagnosis, how are we sharing that within our family? If we had a diagnosis, Are we exercising to reduce our risk of metabolic syndrome, risk of diabetes, which we know, particularly in Black survivors, the risk of diabetes is there. It's there for breast cancer survivors in general, but African-American women are more likely to then have diabetes after breast cancer. Well, the diabetes and insulin resistance and can increase your risk of recurrence. So taking charge and being informed about the things that we know can make a difference, obviously scheduling screenings, taking someone to the doctor with you. Briefly, I was in a social setting and talking to actually my stylist, and she began to ask questions, and she had had a diagnosis, did not share with her family, but didn't understand the need to see the oncologist. And wow, I mean, our system failed her because here she was 6 weeks later, not knowing that when the surgeon said he got everything, that was not the end of her treatment. So working in our communities for support, and of course, fighting for health equity. I'll end with a commercial to say there are lots of things under consideration, and we're getting to vote like our life depends on it. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but your life does. And quite honestly, I've known people who sacrifice to get acts passed, like for navigation, and I believe there's hope. So happy to be here. Look forward to partnerships. Good to see some of my friends like Ms. Rivera. And I will close now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shepherd. Dr. Shepherd, Thelma slipped me a note to ask you two things. One, can you please share your slides so that she can share it with nearly 2,000 people on her distribution list? And two, can you please commit to returning in September 2025? And if so, she is putting this in her budget so that you can appear in person and not on Zoom.
So yes to the slides. So I'm going to assume then that means I'm going to have 2,000 more friends, right, that I can call on if I need to. And if I ever run for office, Ms. Thelma, you're going to be there because you know how to get people on the spot. And yes, I will commit to being there for sure. So I thank you so much for this opportunity.
And let me just say, the smartest people, all the smart people I know have handwriting I can't read. So that's why I'm struggling with handwriting. All right, so thank you again, Dr. Shepherd, for your very informative and inspiring presentation, which had something for everyone. We are now welcoming questions from the
I see a question, and I think does the baby have a question?
Hi, everyone.
Baby has a voice.
Everyone, this is Alejandra Mendoza-Tano, with my apologies, Dr. Alejandra Mendoza-Tano from Georgetown University, Lombardi Cancer Center, one of my true wonderful friends who has been away for a few months in Spain. So when you hear announcements about the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund and speakers from Spain and Guatemala, it is Alejandra who has spoken from Spain several times, and she even shared the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund with her mother, who lives in Guatemala, and her mother spoke from Guatemala. So Alejandra is going to speak now and tell us about that new wonderful bundle of joy she had. It's going to be brief, okay?
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I just wanted to say hi and to introduce the youngest member of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. First meeting. Hopefully he can make it in person soon. This is Diego. I also wanted to say hi to Miss Jones, Dr. Shepard, and to everybody, and just to share the joy of motherhood. He's like a month and a half, and this is, as you know, is the best experience in life. So I just wanted to share this love with all of you. And I've been at the meetings pregnant, so it's not his first meeting technically. But anyway, I just want to share this joy and to send greetings to everybody. And it's wonderful to be back and to see you all. Yeah, it's good. I think now it's time to bed.
Well, does anybody have any questions for Alejandra or the baby? No? Congratulations, Alejandra.
Thank you.
Got a beautiful bundle there. So now we will open it up for questions for Dr. Shepard, right?
Yes.
So if there are any questions, please be prepared to ask. You can ask at least 2 questions and then we'll move on to our next speaker. So somebody smart in the chat.
I have a question.
All right, the birthday girl has a question.
My question has to do with how do you cope or do self-care when you have to look at those really dismal statistics day in and day out and seeing at times that they're not getting better? How do you handle that?
You know, that is that's a hard question. And so one of the things that we do in one of the booklets that we have in giving statistics is that side of it, that there are people who survive and many women survive. And that's why we like having the survivor coaches that we started with back in 2000 and let's see, my kids were born, so back in 2006. And because there's a power of modeling and seeing someone thrive. And even on stage 4, right? When people saw stage 4, I've met people many years afterwards. So there's the statistics and then there's this reality, and that people do survive. When you look at the prediction models, they really can't predict very well. If you look at triple negative breast cancer, for example, who will do better than the other person, right? So while we have great scientific knowledge, there's a lot that we don't know. So we know that how you think matters. Faith is important. Just because we can't measure it on a scale, it doesn't mean that it's not real. I think we've gotten a lot better of understanding stress and all of those factors. So we see progress in certain areas. We're understanding more about the contributions of really lifestyle, inflammation, things that matter. And so we work to encourage people with the diagnosis, that after diagnosis, there is hope. It's an interesting reality because sometimes when you are that number, that you've survived and you see people around you that who didn't, that makes those of us that are here fight harder to understand and get the answers. That's the motivating factor. And so the truth is that we want to understand how people thrive. So I give the statistic of the 40% more likely to pass away compared to whites, right? We've got to close that gap. The gap hasn't always existed either. So what that tells me is that either we're learning more about technology that's not being equally applied, right? Or are we making sure that people can benefit from the advances, right, that are coming about? So it's a complex approach, but Black women do survive. And that's the message that we want people to have, is hope. We need to know the statistics so that we can be armed to do something about them, pushing for research, pushing for inclusion in research, pushing for the research that can answer the questions that we need. And then when we do have the information, making sure it's getting disseminated within communities. Because again, going back to talking to my hairdresser, there's no reason why, as a client, I'm telling her, wait a minute, let me see this report. Suppose that had been someone else, right? I have a feeling that they may need to get genetic counseling, right? But when she went through the number of people impacted, but this person didn't feel comfortable telling their family members. So there's a lot that we can also do in the community. So in short, there are statistics that represent people, but people can thrive and survive. And that's why your support group, seeing and touching people who have survived, is important, because we don't want people to have a fear or a perspective that, oh, it doesn't matter what I do. Right. I had someone say that, well, it's going to be what it's going to be. And I paused. I said, no, it's not. Right. You know, because your car can't drive unless you get into it. So if you go to the doctor, you get treatment earlier. We know those things make a difference. And so, you know, I think we have to learn to speak a language that outside of the scientific, right, to meet people where they are, to help them be informed and be advocates for themselves.
Thank you. Just a question or comment. First of all, congratulations and kudos to BCU for starting this program. I am a quadriplegic, and I would just urge you in your health disparities work to make sure that the disabled population gets included. There's a lot of intersectionality. I'm white. There are Black women in wheelchairs and other disabilities besides them. But we often get forgotten and left out. And for many reasons that overlap, don't get treated. So just wanted to. But thank you
Absolutely.
for-
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Absolutely.
I'm gonna have to start with the man in the mirror on this one. But thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Shepherd. If there are no more questions, then I'm going to introduce our next speaker, who is here to share her personal experience and how her passion for advocacy, how her experience led to her passion for advocacy and giving back to the community. Her name is Sharon Rivera Sanchez, and she will be sharing via Zoom from Richmond, Virginia. Sharon, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right,
Thank you
welcome.
so much for having me. Happy birthday, Miss Thelma. I'm very excited every time I get an opportunity to share my story. I am a 9-year triple negative breast cancer survivor and thriver. Cancer actually entered my family 2 times with 2 totally different outcomes. So I first want to piggyback on what Dr. Shepherd said. It does make a difference when we talking about screening and early awareness and getting checked early, because I got checked early. I never missed my appointments. So my journey began in 2015. I went for my routine mammogram at Massey Comprehensive Cancer Center in Richmond, Virginia. And before I got home, my husband called me and asked me, did I leave something at the center? Bear with me one moment. Let me put my timer on because I could talk about this forever. So I said no, and he said they're calling, they want you to call back. And I just really got this sinking feeling. I didn't want to call them back. I can't explain it. It's just the feeling wasn't right. And I got home and he said, did you call? And I said, no, but I called my OBGYN doctor and said, you know, I'm getting a center. You sent me for my exam and I'm actually getting a call to come back. And she said, and I said, I don't want to go back. And she said, well, come here the next morning and let me check you. And she said, yeah, you definitely have a lump. And I'm like, what? And I went back. I did more testing. Everything was done that day that I went back, set up appointment and a biopsy. And I was told to come back the next day. And I probably would need to bring someone with me. So that sinking feeling I mean, you're just drowning by this time. So a girlfriend and I, we went back, and as they was taking off the bandage, they said, you have breast cancer. And Honestly, I think I was in shock because they asked, could we stay to do a mammogram? I mean, to do an MRI, this was that. They had already scheduled at 4 o'clock. And it's a mall attached to one of the centers. And we walked over to the mall and she said, are you shopping? What are you doing? And I think I was just in shock. I wasn't doing anything. So we went back and I kind of lost it in the MRI machine. You have to be still in an MRI machine. It's not the time to think about you have cancer. They stopped the machine. I was able to pull myself together. And then, I struggle with how would I tell my kids? Because we all know, even sometime today, but the big C, cancer normally equal death. And I'm here to tell you that's not always the case. It can be, so always early. But I went through I went through surgery first. I had the lump removed, and then I went through chemo. And all of a sudden, and I think this is where your mental health play a role in it as well. I was terrified of the radiation machine. I can look back now and I can laugh, but it wasn't funny then. I thought the machine was going to fall on me. Now, if you know this big old radiation, it's not going nowhere. You're not even going in the machine. But in my mind, no one could change that. I mean, I went to John Hopkins and I said, you gotta do something, this machine gonna fall on me. They actually knew the radiology oncology in Richmond, gave him just great remarks and said, go back and let him know that you're scared of the machine. So I did. And I showed up one day. I did not have an appointment. It was a Friday evening. I refused to leave and I wanted to see this doctor. And he was in surgery, but they had an intern and he came out and said, trust me, he said, go home, he's gonna call you. I'm like, no, it's Friday evening, he's not gonna call. They said, I'll assure you he's gonna call you. So they mentioned partial, he did call, and they mentioned partial radiation. So I did that, which that is 5 days a week, twice a day. You have to qualify for that though. So that once I finished all my treatment, I said, how would I know if the cancer come back? So one of the physicians said, it's a crapshoot, just go home and wait. The other one said, any pain? I said, what type of pain? Pain that won't go away. Well, at a certain age, we all have pain that won't go away. So none of that sit well with me. I was actually watching a national television show and it was talking about clinical trials. And, in the Black community, we always hear about, Tuskegee, all the things that happened, Henrietta Lacks. That did not scare me. So I was trying to figure out how could I get in this clinical trial? And I was able to get in that clinical trial. However, that was in California and I'm in Richmond and it wasn't virtual. You actually had to go to California and you had to go every 90 days. But they was in the process of making a contract with Sloan Kettering, which was in New York. And I thought, great, I could easily drive to New York. When I went to California the second time, that I was told that that fell through. So what that meant that I would have to come to California for 90 days for every 2 years from Virginia. Next to impossible. But I was still determined to stay in a clinical trial. So I found another clinical trial at University of Pennsylvania, UPenn, and I was able to get in that trial and I went there for 3 years. So that's a little bit about my story. I want to talk a little bit. Let me make sure I still have time. I don't want to go over. Yeah, real quick. So that's a little bit about my story, but I want to talk a little bit, just real briefly. My brother got diagnosed with colorectal cancer. He did not get screened, and he unfortunately passed away 37 days after his diagnosis. He was in the hospital the entire time, except a day and a half. So it's very important that we talk about screening, early awareness. Not only talk about it, we put a plan together, and we also need to execute that plan. Make sure that we can execute that plan. Charles of Color believe in 3 pillars: educate, advocate, and giving back to the community. And we take all opportunities to go out and be boots on the ground and talk to people. Again, it's just like Dr. Shepherd say, not everybody is comfortable with talking to people that may not look like them, or people that haven't walked the same walk. So when we are out there, we are really talking to people. We are answering the hard question about, well, am I going to be a guinea pig? You know, because you do hear that, and you do hear things about, well, I heard what happened to Henrietta Lacks, or I heard what happened to Tuskegee, and we addressed that all that happened. But when that happened, they did not have people like us. First, they didn't have anything in place. They didn't have boards and laws in place and advocates that's sitting on those boards that are making a difference, that are speaking up. And we need more of that. So I'm going to close with saying this. My call to action is to always be a voice, no matter where you at, and encourage clinical trial participant. For the last 17 years, we only had 4 to 5% of African Americans participate. So if a new drug come out, do that work on us? We really don't know. And it's many types of clinical trial. It doesn't necessarily have to be a medical clinical trial. Now, a lot of you guys may get offended for this, but we all hear about Ozempic, and that was a clinical trial. Pedialyte. If you have children, you used to you had to write a prescription. Now you can go in the store and pick it up over the counter. People take Advil, Tylenol. All those have been in a clinical trial. So my call to action is, please look into joining a clinical trial. And thank you for this opportunity. And I hope you could hear me.
I just want to say, you are unbelievable in your resilience. For someone to keep up, I read your story in the newsletter, to keep up with what you did. Just, you didn't just say I'm gonna participate. You had to follow up and stick to it. That's not easy. So you are an example of unbelievable resilience.
She took some of the words right out of my mouth. I was gonna say, yeah, that your story and so much resilience, I wanna inject some of that in several people I know to be more resilient for much, much smaller challenges. But, there was a celebrity who used to have a catchphrase that I think is appropriate, which is, I pity the fool to mess with Sharon, because she's not having it. She's not having it. Okay, well, I wanted to say, if you'd like to know more about the great work of both Dr. Shepherd and the survivors advocate, Sharon Rivera Sanchez, please make sure that you read this month's TDJBCF newsletter, which features an article on Dr. Shepherd in the spotlight section and survivor and advocate Sharon Rivera Sanchez in the survivor section. We also want to applaud the newsletter editor, LaShawna Thomas Walker, for the great work she is doing. Sharon, thank you so much, Dr. Shepherd. Amazing. All right. Next. Public announcement about the flu season and COVID-19. As we all know, there has been an upsurge in COVID-19, and with that has brought the vaccine hesitant to the forefront again. I'm sure that we all might know someone who was or is still on the fence about vaccine hesitancy. A recent nationwide survey conducted by the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center reveals a significant level of hesitancy towards vaccination amongst the public. The survey comes at a critical juncture with the advent of flu season and an upsurge in COVID-19 cases. This is particularly concerning as the latest batch of flu vaccines for the year is being distributed by the FDA and has approved a new set of COVID-19 vaccines. The survey discovered that more than a third, 37% of those who have previously been vaccinated do not intend to get vaccinated this year. The same percentage of respondents expressed a lack of perceived necessity for any of the vaccines mentioned in the survey, which includes vaccines for influenza, COVID-19, pneumococcal disease, and the respiratory syncytial virus, did I get it right? RSV. The TDJ-BCF would like to emphasize that it's important to stay up to date on your vaccines and wear a high-quality KN95 mask in public spaces. That's why tonight, the TDJ-BCF is offering everyone present in person 2 KN95 masks to help reduce the spread of COVID-19. All right.
Get vaccinated.
The next section with community partners, please. As mentioned earlier, you indicated that you're thinking about the number 12. As I mentioned earlier, I was thinking about the number 12. Harmonic partnerships, the TDJ-BCF, I must be getting sick, is pleased to work collaboratively and in harmony with a number of partners, 4 of whom may only be 2 are here. Are we do have it? Do we have it?
Yeah, 2 partners.
2 here. 2 of our partners are here. Please. Okay, so let me please introduce and acknowledge our TDJ-BCF partners. Sorry, lost my space.
Cancer Society.
The American Cancer Society
Making strides against breast
and Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hope you can hear me okay. Is it possible, Sergio, that I can share my screen?
Yes, you can do it now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. All right, great. Thank you so much for everyone having me here today. My name is Lisa Baines, and I'm Associate Director with the American Cancer Society here in the Washington, D.C. area. And happy birthday, Miss Thelma. Happy birthday. Just want to go over just a few things. We have an upcoming walk that's coming up, and it's our DC Making Strides Against Breast Cancer walk, and that is coming up on Saturday, October the 26th. It's going to be at the Tidal Basin as well. And let me see if I can switch this over right here. Okay. Okay. Also, just to let you know, it starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we welcome everyone to just come out and join us for this walk. We have a new person in charge, our new senior manager, and his name is TJ Seawick, and TJ is, if you need any help or information on what to do at the walk, information on getting a team together, certainly he's the one to see. So come on out and celebrate with us. We're going to have a survivors tent. We're going to have a band as well. 360 booth. There'll be a pink chair. And it's a celebration of thrivers, survivors, caregivers, and everyone together, just celebrating those that are alive today. Come out and meet our Faces of Hope. These are 8 ladies that are selected. They come from different backgrounds of cancer survivorship, and they all have a very unique story. So certainly come on out and get an opportunity to meet them. As I said, we do have a live band this year. Some of the reasons why we would love for folks to come and join us is because we have more than 287,000 women in the year that will be diagnosed with some type of breast cancer. And as well, men do get breast cancer as well. There's about 2,700 men that will be diagnosed. And we know about the rates of Black women in the death rates of Black women than any other races. So we know the importance of coming out, learning, bringing awareness as well. I'm going to go through these kind of quickly, but I always like to say that there is hope. Where were we years ago? I mean, there's so many breakthroughs that we have made. So it's important to look for the hope and things that we have done. Tamoxifen, Herceptin, other things that we do to reduce disparities. So there's a lot of breakthroughs that have happened over the years. And one of the things of our impact, we have three main things that we really focus on in our impact. One is the health equity, and we're giving them more than $49 million and 61 grants. Lodging. Our closest lodging area is the Baltimore Hope Lodge, and it is a place where people can stay for free. You're right next to Johns Hopkins and the University of Maryland. You can stay for free along with a caregiver while you're undergoing treatment. And we also provide rides. That's important to remember. I'd like to tell everybody to keep this number in your head, this phone number, and it's 800-227-2345. I can always remember that number, 227. There used to be that show called 227 with Jackie Harry. Used to stick in my mind. So I always remember that number. That is our toll-free number. It's a number you can call day or night. Why I love it is because a real live person comes on the phone and we'll talk to you and we'll help you with your cancer journey, whether you need rides to go to and from treatment. What do you need next? How can we assist you in any way? Also, our impacts are discovery, which is, of course, cancer research, patient support, not only that, places to go for wigs and different types of things that you might need to help you along your journey, and as well as advocacy, which is fighting, in Congress for all of those things that we definitely need as we progress through this cancer journey together. Just pictures from the events that we've had in the past. And what's things that are new on the horizon. We're talking about research. That's important. One of the new things, we have a landmark study that just kicked off in March, and it's called Voices of Black Women. We are actually looking for Black women between the ages of 25 and 55 who have never had any type of cancer. So these women, we're looking for them to enroll in a study, and we're going to be following them for a number of years throughout their journey to see, are they developing cancer? Where are they? What is the common link? Because we know in this particular area, we have so many women, especially young women and young Black women who are being diagnosed every single day with breast cancer. So what is the common denominator? So as we all talk about, we cannot make strides unless we have studies. This one is specifically for Black women. So we encourage you to ask family and friends who do not have breast cancer to join us in the study. It's a very easy study. It probably takes you about almost 60 minutes for the first initial registration. Then after that, every year it's only 30 minutes. You go in and you put in information that they ask you and you type it in. And we'll be able to gather information and to follow people along their journey and see, are you developing cancer? How did you develop it? What are the common factors? And so we ask you to join us. I'm going to stop my share. And join us for more information. We'll be giving out information on Voices of Black Women. And once again, our Making Strides Against Breast Cancer Walk is going to be on Saturday, October the 26th at the Tidal Basin in Washington, D.C. We're expecting about 5,000 people to be joining us. And thank you so much for this opportunity, Miss Thelma, as always. Love you and love all that you do. Thank you.
Wow, that's a lot of great stuff going on. A lot of great. Making Strides, is it Making Strides here?
So that was
Making Strides and the American Cancer Society up there. So is everybody? Okay, then I will introduce Thelma Jones to come back up.
Yeah, I joined the team.
Okay.
I just joined today.
What am I doing?
No, so the next is MedStar.
Oh, one of the other partners.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. MedStar, are you on the line?
Yes. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Okay, great. So let me share my screen if I can. Okay, perfect. So I thank you so much Thelma, for the opportunity to talk a little bit about this project. And also happy birthday, Thelma. I hope you're having a great day. So just a little bit about me. I am a research scientist at MedStar Health Research Institute. My training and my background is in clinical health psychology. I am originally from Puerto Rico, and most of my work has focused on um, finding strategies to improve access to healthcare, specifically for cancer patients and cancer survivors. So right now we have a project that is currently funded by DC Health, um, and it was kind of in reaction to DC Health concerns about seeing that there is a quite larger percent of what it should be expected of cancer patient with a breast cancer diagnosis that are not completing breast cancer treatment. And they wanted to understand like what is happening and how we can, better support our patients so they can, have better access to breast cancer treatment and be more engaged. So as a result, we are currently doing some surveys and interviews with breast cancer patients, just to have a better understanding about their experience, questions that we're interested or aspect that we're interested is related to communication, like how their providers were talking about breast cancer treatment, what were their concerns, what were the barriers that they were facing, just to have a better understanding, what is really going on in DC. And then also come up with a response and options to better address and provide the resources that patient might need when they're recently diagnosed. So first, we have two opportunities. You could either participate in a survey. For the survey, we are recruiting English-speaking and Spanish-speaking patients. They had with a diagnosis of breast cancer in the past 5 years. They either should be like DC resident or patients that receive care or diagnosis in DC. And then for the survey, again, we will ask different questions about their overall quality of life, but also reasons why either a breast cancer patient could have declined, stopped, or delayed their cancer treatment, and just trying to have that better understanding of what is really going on. The survey can be done over the phone or electronically. You can do it at your home. You receive a link, and it takes about 30 minutes to complete, and you receive a compensation of $25 for completing the survey. We're also doing interviews, and the interviews are more specific for patients or their caregivers who the breast cancer patient had to delay their cancer treatment for any reason. It could be either because personal reason or because they were having issues with their insurance. So it can be any reason. Or they have to decline or stop breast cancer treatment, again, for any reason. We can do the interview either in Spanish or English, and again, very similar. We're focusing on patients that either live in DC or receive treatment or diagnosis in DC. For the interview, it can take up to 1 hour. It can be done over the phone, and the patient will receive a gift card of $50 for completing the interview. Again, this in a study that we're doing is again to to empower, to find ways or have a better understanding so we can create strategies to better empower our community and breast cancer patients to have the access that they deserve to care and treatment options. So I I'm so glad that I was able to join today's meeting and hear Ms. Rivera Sanchez story. And like I was so, I was like, wow, this is a great example of someone that was like actively engaged in her treatment and trying to find different options. And so like Dr. Shepherd, the stories that you were sharing of, like when are isolated and if you don't have a lot of support system sometimes, when someone get a diagnosis with cancer, it's overwhelming. So you don't you're thinking about other things while the doctor is telling you all the information about treatment, so you might not be able to pay attention to every single detail. So having a support system and having people that can go back and remind you about the different small details that are important to follow through your cancer, your care is important. So yeah, we just want to hear our community voices to see how we can better support them. So this is my information, but also Thelma Jones, she also have the study flyers, so we can also find different ways to share the flyers with you if you're interested. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Jessica, appreciate that. And next, I think I'm right this time. Thelma, I'd like to welcome you back up to the podium so that we make some acknowledgements and announcements.
So thank you, LaTanya, for shepherding us through this evening. As you said earlier, there's been something in all of the speeches that I know has resonated or has inspired or been very informative to each of the guests. And so I am so grateful that we've had our wonderful speakers, as we always do, particular my dear friend, Dr. Vanessa Shepherd from VCU in Richmond, Virginia. As I said, or the note that I slipped to you, so she's been on Zoom now for 3 times. I think it's time for us to bring Dr. Shepherd back to Washington for a visit, because she worked here for some time, so I'm sure she's homesick for Washington, and by next year, she should be ready to come back for a weekend. So we look forward to seeing you back, Dr. Shepherd. We also want to thank my dear friend, Reverend Dr. Burl Dennis, for that beautiful lesson that I think she touched sort of every soul here. She certainly touched mine. And I am so proud and grateful to have a friend like Jan Adams and all of her entrepreneurial spirit, which I hope rubs off on me by the time I turn 18 and I can just really start giving back even more. I can move from the role of a cancer advocate, thriver, and champion to adding philanthropist onto that, so that we can help to address some of the ills that we are still facing with breast cancer. Sharon, thank you so much. I think a couple of people, well, 3 people, have already remarked about your speech, your resilience, your courageous efforts. So I can only second what they have said and encourage you to keep on being the advocate that you are, as we need people like you to help share their story and to advocate for those who might be suffering in silence or who just do not have the voice to share. I also want to acknowledge my dear friend Alejandra Mendoza Rudado, who welcome the newest member of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund, Diego. So we're gonna have to help him to grow and be an advocate just as his mom is. As for our community partners who are always here helping the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund to share our stories and to help to promote the message that early detection saves lives and create better outcomes. So for Lisa with the American Cancer Society, making strides against breast cancer, we all look forward to being out with you at the walk coming up very soon. And if you have not registered or signed up, please do so. And we have a team. Sherry and I are working together. We're carrying on the great legacy that she did with her team. Over 10 years, raised $100,000 for making strides against breast cancer. That is no small amount. That's a huge amount to help ACS carry on its mission and making strides against breast cancer. And we want to thank you, Jessica, for sharing the cancer treatment engagement study, and the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund looks forward to working with you to help ensure that we get enough participants to achieve the outcomes that we are trying to reach with the study. And Amber Stewart was here, the young lady who was sitting over there. I just wanted to recognize her. Amber is a new volunteer and a new resident here in Southwest. She is a graduate of Georgia State University, and she's also a graduate of the University of Georgia with a master's in public policy, and she is looking forward to going on to grad school to achieve her PhD. I know that there are a number of announcements of upcoming events at the bottom of your agenda. I will not read them, but instead, I'm going to use that time to make sure that we finish introducing, I think it was 4 other people. And why don't we start with you? And this is your first time attending, so let me welcome you again for being the first time attending.
First, happy birthday.
Thank you.
I am Bob from Gaylord, and I'm a cancer survivor. I was diagnosed in 23. Truly, at my age, I was devastated. 79, I was devastated. No, I cannot get no rest. I made it through. I had some challenges. I really did. I had mental challenges. Because of my age, I think. But I've overcome it. I'm a best survivor. I want to give back to the Cancer Society. I've been looking around and I just want to give back.
Well, this is the place to be to give back. We can always use extra help. So I really welcome you to that. Barbara mentioned about her age, and so I can understand and appreciate what she said. But many of all of us may know that 2 of the greatest risk factors of breast cancer are being born a woman and growing older. So she's faced with the risk factors. And Tanya mentioned about our meals program at River Park, that it really focuses on the seniors. And there are a lot of women in that program. So one of the reasons why the program, one of the many reasons why the program is important is because, again, 2 of the greatest risk factors are being born a woman and growing older. And also to be reminded, men do get breast cancer. And the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund twice a year focuses on men health, particularly with a focus on male breast cancer survivors for breast cancer in men. So that program is not all just because they're seniors. It's because there is an educational and a health impact that's involved or surrounding it. So, and we will continue that program as well. Okay, happy birthday. Let me just say goodbye, because she has to drive back to Baltimore and then come back to River Park in the morning.
At 7 in the morning.
Wow.
Yes, so please.
I just want to say thank you all for having me. I really enjoyed being your moderator, and I promise if you invite me again next year, it'll be better. I might have like some juggling or something. I don't know. Come up with something to make it better. But thank you very much for inviting me. I enjoyed it, and wish you all a happy night.
Flowers are yours, Latanya. There's a bouquet of flowers.
For what? I love flowers.
Maybe they're right over there. I'm sorry. Maybe they're right over in the bag over here, because I had them near me. So my apologies. This is off script. Oh, yes. So we didn't want her to leave without at least getting her dozen of pink roses. Aren't they beautiful?
Oh, they are. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I was so excited.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
All right, you guys, keep fighting the good fight.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So yes, I was saying that about Amber Stewart. And then we want to get back to, because we want to make sure that we introduce everybody. And then there's wine, some good wine left, and lots of healthy food over there, and an ice cream cake. I do not want to have to take that cake home. Okay, so Sherry Dickinson talk one about them. Recognize ambassadors.
Just want to say happy birthday to Thelma, 27, great age. The anniversary is the same number of years of my survivorship. So it's easy to keep track. 12 years of a quadriplegic. And I just want to thank this community and thank Thelma for being a connector. I am very involved with Christopher in the Relief Foundation. I'm a regional champion, healthcare and mammography that's accessible is my soapbox. And Thelma has a meeting every November for disabilities and breast cancer. So thank you, and thank you for all you do, your energy, your endless compassion, and just for being here. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay. And, okay. And next we'll have Anthea Peters, or while she's assistant Sherry, we can get Celine to introduce herself. Celine, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Celine Wayneworth. I'm a musician, as you probably already know. That was respect. I don't know how long now. 100 years.
Since the late 1990s.
Yeah. I used to do all the work. A lot of the music at the World Bank and I also met a lot of incredible people. As a matter of fact, I was going to show you once at least Nigeria is going to be playing. Anybody who goes to Nigeria to play at one of their summits. But of course, always in Africa, something can happen like military coup, and we could have canceled the trip, in Lagos. But I just admire your tenacity to keep going and just how you just, you know, I mean, I'm just honored to know you. And, so your birthday gift, from me to do the music, you know, we'll continue this, you know. For the next birthday, you say 16, the 17th birthday, we do more, you know. Dancing. So thanks again for inviting me, and everybody got safe at home, and it's good health, peace and love, everybody.
Thank you.
My name is Anthony. Representing the breast cancer survivor and a Thelma Jones ambassador.
Sylvia, where are you? Introduce yourself, please.
Hi guys, I'm Sylvia Sam Jackson. And I've been a part of Thelma B. Jones breast cancer group since 2000 and was it 14, something like that. It's been a while, and I've been enjoying the ride. She gets you involved in a lot because she knows a lot of people, and a lot of people know her. So it's been fun, and I've learned a whole lot behind this. And I thank her for all that she's doing for the community as well as for myself. So, welcome.
And happy birthday, Thelma.
Yes.
I also want to turn to the screen because I know one of our board members, Kathy DeVoe, is on. And Kathy, would you like to introduce yourself? And if I'm missing anyone else on screen, please feel free to introduce yourself.
Okay. Hello, Thelma. Happy birthday again. I can't see myself on screen, but the program was just excellent. So much good information. I just had a knee replacement surgery, so I don't know if I'll be ready to walk on October 26th, but if I can, I'll be there to encourage and to help raise money. So thank you, Thelma, for everything you do. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. And we texted and talked several times, and you didn't mention about your surgery. Shame on you.
Sorry.
Shame on you. Okay. So is there anyone else on Zoom who would like to introduce themselves?
Hi,
And
Thelma.
you can introduce yourself.
Roberta Bell. Hi, Thelma. Happy birthday. Roberta Bell. Thelma and I serve on the Jedi Council at Howard University Cancer Center. So happy birthday, Thelma.
Thank you, Roberta. That's the Justice, Equity, Diversity Council at Howard University. And the I, I'm blanking on the I, the Jedi Council. Inclusion. How could I forget inclusion? Is there anyone else on Zoom that we've omitted? Okay, Sergio.
Yes, hi, my name is Sergio Jimenez, and happy birthday, Thelma. I've been working with you for almost 3 years, and it has been a pleasure. I have learned a lot, and you have helped me in many ways, and thank you for that. And I wish you the best today and always.
Oh, thank you. And Sergio is also one of our staunch volunteers for the senior meals and distribution program. So thank you for that, Sergio, as well.
Pleasure.
Okay. We were scheduled to end at 8:30, and we're just ended a few minutes late. But again, I want to thank all of you for your birthday wishes, for your time here, because I know there's hundreds of other places that you could have been. But the fact that you chose to be here with me really warms my heart. So with that, I think we should cut the cake and do a toast. It's a nice wine over there before you go. And then I wish all of you a safe trip back home, because I know some of you, like Bria, is a long ways off. And to know that she has 3 little kids that she's left home with her husband, he's really gonna love seeing her. So she has 3 little kids that she has to get up for school tomorrow and still carry on her life as an inflammatory breast cancer survivor. So I'm really heartened when I know people go beyond the call of duty to be here and celebrate with me. So thank you, everyone, and good night.
Night. Thank you.